Take a moment to think back on a time when you had a conversation that felt bad, one where you and or others walked away feeling confused, hurt, or mistreated. Perhaps you picture yourself at work, watching a team member storm out of the room during a working session due to different points of view about the project the group is working on. Perhaps you picture yourself out to dinner, disagreeing with your partner about a serious matter in your lives that you don't know how to navigate. Perhaps you picture yourself at home, attempting to text with a good friend and getting ghosted. In any of these scenarios, you may have found yourself asking, what went wrong? Now, take a moment to think back on a time when you had a conversation that felt really good. One where you and or others walked away feeling heard, known, and understood. Perhaps you picture yourself at work again, this time working through a snag in the project you're working on with your team in a way that makes the end product better than you expected. Perhaps you picture yourself out to dinner, gracefully handling a tricky conversation with your partner about your life plans. Perhaps you picture yourself at home, enjoying a text exchange where you catch up with an old friend you haven't spoken to in a while. In the same way we find ourselves asking what went wrong in the first scenarios, it is just as important to ask ourselves what went right in these. And once we can identify and articulate what went right, we can recreate it in the future. And coordinated management of meaning helps us to do just that. Coordinated management of meaning, or CMM for short, was created by Barnett Pierce and Vernon Cronin to help us see what we often ignore as we relate with others. Where CMM initially differs from other theories of communication is this communication perspective, which asks us to look at communication instead of through it. Consider the following story quoted from David Foster Wallace's 2005 commencement speech at Kenyon College. He says, "There are these two young fish swimming along. They happen to meet an older fish swimming the other way, who nods at them and says, 'Morning, boys, how's the water?' The two young fish swim on for a bit, and then eventually one of them looks over at the other and goes, 'What the heck is water?' In the same way a fish may be unaware of the quality of the water they swim in, we are often unaware of the quality of the communication we participate in. We take it for granted because we are so deeply saturated in it. But CMM asks us to look at this water rather than through it, by focusing on the process of communicating, which CMM acknowledges to be complex, relational, and consequential. A communication perspective acts like a lens through which to make meaning of the things we experience. And once we begin to pay attention to the water, it's nearly impossible to unsee it. In addition to a communication perspective, CMM offers a set of practices that enable us to better shape what we experience in the waters of communication that we swim in. To return to the metaphor of the fish, if you don't thrive in the salty seawater, maybe you just need to find a freshwater pond. Different fish need different kinds of environments. And referring back to the opening scenarios, the way we communicate affects the environments we create together. CMM models like the loop model, the daisy model, and the serpentine model provide ways to see how our stories and actions are co-constructing these environments. Questions like, how did that get made? What are we making? And what can we do to make better social worlds can be used to help us act more mindfully. So ultimately, CMM offers us a different way of viewing ourselves in relationship to our social worlds. Using CMM, we can identify unwanted patterns, parse out the various contexts that are affecting our stories and actions, navigate the moral forces that may compel us to act or not act in certain ways, and choose ways of being that enable us to skillfully and generatively navigate the complex worlds in which we live in, helping to make the relational waters we swim in healthy for all. You can learn more about CMM on our Substack, get connected with the work we do at our CMM Institute website, explore our relational resources on the Cosmo Activities site, interact with our Cosmopolitan Community Experiment at the Cosmopolis 2045 website, and listen to our podcast at storieslived, storiestold.com.